Okay, so hi Annie. I mean, I guess firstly, how have you been doing over this last, I don't know, 18 months, nearly 2 years? How you been doing over it?
Um, yeah, I think that it's been an equally wild time for every person. I don't think any of us have escaped it, but
Mhm.
my family, I would say we've been doing okay in that, it's actually been quite nice. I had another second child over this lockdown period, so it was quite nice that we're all at home together. But yeah, it's just crazy, isn't it? I think up and down, right? Like everyone.
Yeah, I suppose like how have you coped, I guess, emotionally with that 18 months? Has there been sort of high and low points or like, is it, I guess sometimes it's like you have to be careful what you let into your space in terms of the news and not sort of letting it overwhelm you, everything that was going on, especially in 2020 when there was so much going on in the world.
I think letting the outside in, I've always been a little bit of a hermit in that I'm not big on the news. I know that's very,
Mm.
very juvenile, but I just try and keep out what I don't want in. When it's big enough, you're going to hear about it. So I don't tend to follow it day to day. But I think for me personally, after last year, yeah, it kind of really knocked me and kind of changed the way I saw myself and the things that I needed to do myself. Because I think that I've always sort of held myself up and thought, I was quite compassionate and quite forward and open with my story and sort of helped where I can. But after everything that happened over the last 2 years, over in America, over here, and if we're all honest, the things that we always knew that were happening, I'm talking about race and difference and these kinds of
Mhm.
things as well. I think that I realized that I could be doing a lot more. So it's really changed the way I approach work and my day-to-day life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say personally, it shook me a lot. It did take me a lot, but my family and everything like that, I would say, we're very fortunate. We did okay, but me on a personal level, it was probably one of my biggest eye-opening kind of times, I would say.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for coming on the podcast. I think the first time I sort of heard about your story, I think was there a video on like Lad Bible. I think I might have
Oh
seen.
yeah, Lad Bible one, yeah.
Yeah. I was really intrigued by your story and everything like that. And yeah, so I mean, on Instagram as well, you're sort of very big on positivity, keeping a positive mindset. I mean, are there sort of things that I know you do to make sure you stay in that mindset, that positive mindset?
Yeah, for sure.
I know
I
working
think that
out's a big thing for you.
sorry, say that again.
Yeah, I know working out is like a really big, fitness and everything's really sort of big in your life.
It is very big in my life.
Yeah.
I've been a personal trainer for 15 years now.
Mhm.
My husband's just got his second gym, so it's like part of our lifestyle really is just moving and training. For me, I think that people always ask, how do you stay positive and whatnot? 'Cause it's such a perfect, it's such a question we all want to know, including me. I'm the first person to be like, hey, why is that smile on your face? Share the wealth.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, I don't think there's a one and done kind of situation. I think that and we all know the truth, it's something that we have to sort of keep out all of the time. Long before self-care was a phrase and everything growing up, I knew that I had to kind of keep myself feeling good, looking different and getting all the fun reactions that I can get from people. It's quite clear I needed to have a solid base. So I've just sort of taken that on. And as we know, it changes over time. So it's not really just that wait until you're at rock bottom. For me, it's what keeps me training, keeping me walking. Like I've literally this year, I've had such a wild time. I had an emergency operation on my stomach. My intestines were twisted and I've been in hospital for 2 weeks, and then I had more operations on my scars and I've just literally been doing intervals in and out of hospital. So my normal level of training just has been non-existent, which is totally fine. I'm not, as much as people think I'm not exactly a gym bunny. I just do it because I want to feel good and look a certain way,
Yeah.
But I always just say to people, just do what you can where you are in that, we all know the truth, it's not about overeating in a way, looking a certain way. It's about eating things that make you feel good, It's about, shall I get up and train? And I'm not even a fan of someone doing like 4 hours smashing it. I'm just saying, do 10, 20 minutes every day.
Yeah.
Maybe not back on the alcohol. Maybe, it's these kinds of things. And as I say, it's the little things like news. I don't lean into the news too much. When people give me good news, I'll really share it and talk about it and lean into that. It's so easy to hear the bad stuff, but the good stuff we kind of sweep over. So it's all the little things for me really add up and help, rather than this one perfect holy grail answer. Hope that helped. That was quite a long one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You're going to kick me off the podcast, aren't you?
No. I mean, it's not like the Rock sort of style. You've seen the Rock stuff on Instagram where he's just kind of like, you always feel like, how does he just has the time where he just seems like he's either working on a movie or training all the time. Just like his Instagram was just full of just like him at the gym, all that just 24/7.
Gym. Well, it's his life, and he literally, arguably, gets paid for it. Literally gets paid to train.
Yeah.
So that's where that difference is. I've just launched, or I say just launched. I launched Well Woman Club. It was a campaign to help people understand the basics of feeling good through nutrition, food, mood. Different tactics to help with anxiety, training, how to understand like macros, calories, all these things that I think a lot of trainers presume people know. And it's all about just doing what you can. It's not really about saying, right, I'm going to do, as I said, an hour at ages. It's literally just doing those little bits. So, I think just doing what you can is the number one thing.
Yeah, I suppose that's quite rewarding for you, knowing that you're helping people with their anxiety through something that you love to do, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's the same as you, right? You're obviously like chatting to people and interviewing them. Equally, I love the same kind of thing. So in my head, I want to find out what other people are doing about exercise, what other people do to feel good. Do they meditate? Because I always find it amusing. Same as what you said about The Rock. I always find it funny that people are like, if you want to be happy, you got to get up at 5 a.m. and worship the sun and do 20 hours of meditation. I'm like, hold on, I've got a life to lead. I've got kids, sleeping is my meditation. Do you know what I mean? So I want to get those little snippets of how you feel good. So again, why wouldn't I want to share that? I might as well. If I'm going to find out for myself, I may as well share that. And as I say, I think life can be simple. I think that we do like to put these wonderfully big obstacles in our way. Even just my girlfriend's like, oh, I would go on this dating app, or I would go in for this gym, but my weight, I need to change my shape. I'm like, first of all, one has got nothing to do with the other. But it's a really convenient obstacle you're putting in place of the things that you want to do, so you don't get to have to push yourself. So for me, I just want to make life, get rid of those simple things out of the way and try and help people feel good. It's nice.
Yeah. I mean, but you talk about a simple life. Your life didn't start out very simple. I mean, you were born into a traveling family. I mean, and just, I guess the second you were born, there was controversy straight away, wasn't there?
Yes. So I was born into a white family, traveller family. My mum would have been very young. Her husband was white. She was also white. So when I came out black, obviously it proved quite a difficult situation for her. Like any marriage, I don't think it's going to go down too well if your child comes out black and, you're a white man. So it put her in a difficult spot, particularly in a traveller family. Certainly true for my mum back then. Very patriarchal. She was heavily reliant on the man going out earning the money. She stayed at home. And so then when 4 weeks later, I turned up at hospital with 3rd-degree burns, everyone presumed, the authorities, so the police, the care workers at the time, thought my mum tried to kill me, which is horrible, for anyone to think. So it was difficult from the off, but a lot of people straight away jump in with, oh, she's horrible, she's this, she's that, how you must hate her and all these kinds of things. But my mum was very young and I was her 3rd child. So, she would have already had a very, very difficult life. Now, I'm not condoning anything that happened, because even though it didn't happen the way everyone thinks it did, it was still a very difficult situation for every single person involved. But, what kind of life would she have had to do something like that? I would never think that's okay. And I'm not going to put my hand up to it. I'm not the saint that I like to paint on the gram that we all do, but I wouldn't make those decisions. So I just think, who was around her to think those things are okay. So I've kind of felt for her, which I think makes everything a little bit easier. So it makes things less complicated, not simple, but certainly less complicated.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it hard, I guess? Was there a period of time where you did kind of want that closure or sort of reasoning why, or were you quite at a young age able to accept, what you just said about your mum?
I would say I was at a young age quite accepting of it. I remember as well, I had it from a very young age, and so I grew up with this belief, and as a kid, whatever you're fed, you're going to believe. So from my angle, I did kind of accept it. And it was kind of sort of told to me in a way, like your mum was very sick, so there was a lot of sort of compassion there for her. So that sort of, I picked up on that as well. So I was able to accept that. It wasn't until I was a lot older that I really wanted to understand a little bit more about my past. And it was more because I realized, you know, I was knocking 30 and I thought, if I don't find out now, I'm probably never going to do it, because I'm probably going to have kids soon. And I know as well as anyone, add kids to the equation, you know, not a lot else is going to get done. And also I realized that people are going to get on, you know, in that the people that will know anything about my story will probably be not around, or, you know, poor memory and whatnot. So I just thought now's the time. And I was quite fortunate in that my husband at the time was working with some of the England rugby team, like training some people that had agents. This agent came to me and said, do you want to do some TV work? And then the production company came to me and said, hey, you know, do you want to find out about your past? I'm not going to say I jumped at the chance, but I was like, you know, if I don't do this now, I'm probably never going to do it. And I knew that I'd have the backing of the BBC and help to see it through. You know, I tried at that time, oddly, that's the exact time I was trying to find out about my past myself. And I did what any, you know, aspiring journo would do, go on Facebook and Google names. But actually most travelers got the same last name, so it was like needle in a haystack kind of situation. And it was quite, it's quite difficult. So I didn't come to any luck, and I just thought this is really good to have it and be part of a team. So I also knew that I would probably find out information and emotionally it would knock me and I'd want to pause. But in that situation, when you start opening the box, you really do need to keep sorting through it and find out everything that's in there before you close the lid. And I just knew that if I had a team with me, that is what would happen, because they would be able to go over my head and keep going, which is essentially what happened. I'm not going to say we found out everything. You know, nothing is ever cut and dry. It's not handed to us on a plate. But I found out so much more information than I would have ever expected. But it made everything more real, which was quite hard to take.
And obviously you were saved from the fire by someone. Did you ever find out who that person was? Or
we didn't find out exclusively who it was, but I found the fireman that was there on the day, which was really nice. He was such a wonderful man. He was so good. He was exactly how you'd want, you know, like he had the white moustache and the beard. And I know that sounds really childish, but, you know, like it was just this, and he was just such a nice, he was just such a nice man. And I still get in contact with him now. He's just recently moved, actually, and we still speak on the phone. And I go and see him because he lives near my husband's family. So it's actually really nice having that connection.
Brilliant, yeah. And obviously now you're a mum yourself. How did you meet your husband? I mean, how did that all happen?
How did I meet my husband?
Yeah.
We met at a gym. I'm laughing because of all the gym questions you said. I met across a steamy room. No, I'm joking. No, we
not the steam room.
No, not the actual steam room. That'd be something else.
Yeah.
No, so we met at the gym. We didn't, you know, it wasn't like immediate. We met, we were both working together, we were both with other people at the time. Nothing crossed over at all. It's just that, you know, so we got to be friends. I wouldn't say it was like a amazing friendship. We just got on quite well. And then we both broke up with our other people that we were with, and then, you know, got on, hung out more and more. I'm not really a fall into love kind of person. I'm more of a walk into love, like very slowly, like, so it was really good. It was really great. Obviously it was great. I married it, you know, but so
yeah, that's amazing. And so do you still do work at the gym now? Is it kind of like your own sort of personal training stuff that you do?
So we met at a gym that we both rented, and then we both worked there for X amount of years. Then I helped him build the gym that's in Cobham, our first gym, and I worked there as well, and it was supposed to be ours. The reason why we didn't do it together is I'm not sure. Well, basically, we know a lot of people that have gone into business as couples together, and you don't really want all your money in one pot. Obviously, if you go on holiday, it's quite difficult, these kinds of things. So he did it with another guy, Wes, who's wonderful. And when it kind of got up and running, I moved away from the gym and I started doing public speaking, and I started doing, made documentaries for the BBC. So I kind of got to do my own thing. And then now, if I'm honest, I just really miss training people and being in that environment. But I don't want to work at the gym with him. Too many chiefs and all that. No one wants their husband or wife telling them what to do. We were all right when we worked together before, because we both rented the same space. And that's a different thing. But when it's the same business, you know, it's better not, for me anyway. I'm sure people love it, but not for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about your documentaries there. I mean, I saw part of the documentary with was it the MMA girl fighters, the female
Oh
fighters?
yeah.
I mean, was that? I mean, I saw a clip of it. Was that something you'd ever thought about doing or want to do?
Absolutely not. No way. No, I mean, give me a fighting chance. Look at this face. Do you know what I mean? I've got to keep it as intact as I can. I've got half a nose. Do you know what I mean? Let's not lose the whole thing. I think no, definitely not for me. My fighter instincts is definitely gone. I might have been a little bit animalistic when I was a kid, but I'm not very much more contained. Plus, I've got kids. I don't want to be in pain. Actually, is the base. I don't think I even need to justify it. That's it. I just find it interesting because you know. It's quite a savage thing, MMA. I don't know if you know much about it, but it's literally like all out, go for it. And these women are loving it, jumping in straight in. So not only is it quite a new sport for women to get into on a broader sense, and a lot of people get into it, but it's just quite savage. I just found it quite interesting to look into.
Yeah, no, I watched parts of it a few years ago, obviously when it was Ronda Rousey, the American, that was sort of the top of the
Oh yeah, she's great, isn't she?
The UFC world. And then obviously there was complete, it's not like they say like wrestling where everything's predetermined, things like that. It's just actually like two women properly just like wanted to, beat the hell out of each other. And, everyone kind of made out she was like top of the world, unbeatable. But then she obviously, out of nowhere, this woman just came and, really took her out. And it was just savage to sort of see that.
It is savage, and it was all the fights that I watched. But you definitely get desensitized. By the end, I went to some of the last fights. I was there, like growling at the sides. You know what I mean? Like you definitely get desensitized to it all. But it's interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. Did you watch the Tyson Fury fight? Are you into the boxing?
Yeah, I did. I did. I really like him.
Yeah, it was a great.
That sounded really. Go on.
No, I was gonna say like the trilogy of fights between him and Deontay Wilder was amazing. I don't know if I'll see anything like it again. Like it was just insane. Like they're both knocking each other down, getting back up, just crazy.
Agreed.
And every fight was just got more and more crazier.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I think before Fury, my last sort of fights I was really into was oh my goodness, I've forgotten his name. Who was our boy Hatton? And then towards the ends of his fights, obviously, you could just see in the walkout he wasn't in. And then after that, I kind of loved the love sort of lost. But as I say, Fury's really sort of brought it back in for me. So I'm absolutely loving it again. And his story is great as well. Like, let's face it, we all love a story. And he's just, I really like it. It's really enjoyable. And I like that he doesn't look like, shredded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's all part of it, isn't it? I like that.
Yeah. Do you think he's the best boxer in the world?
No, Mike Tyson is. If you look at, actually, are you talking about now?
I guess talk about right now. Yeah, ever. I mean, you've got Muhammad Ali, Tyson. You made that's different.
Oh, fine.
I guess like right now, like, is he the best? I mean, he's the champ, but I mean, people say the arguments there with Anthony Joshua, who has kind of had a few bad fights. I mean, but Tyson's undefeated, isn't he?
I mean, technically, no. I still think Fury. I just feel like he's got the anger behind him as well. But time will tell. We'll see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I guess going back to your upbringing and stuff, you were fostered, and then I guess it was a blessing to be adopted by the people that you were fostered by. I mean, so you had was that a really nice childhood for you? Yeah,
it was lovely. It was really lovely. I was very, very fortunate. I mean, it wasn't the perfect childhood. My parents got divorced when I was young, my adopted parents. But it was like perfectly, crazily normal, fights with my older brother and sister, it was just great fun, bike rides. I loved it. It was great. It was really, really good. It's a kind of childhood I look back now and I have to say I'm glad I was born then over now. I feel like it's quite difficult now with all the social media and everything coming in for our kids. And I just think, so I'm very, very grateful. I was very lucky that I was adopted from the same family as being fostered. I know a lot of people that were fostered, bounced around. And that's really hard.
Yeah.
I'm very lucky. I'm very fortunate.
I suppose what was growing up like for you in terms of, I mean, junior school, primary school, secondary school, college, whatever you did. I mean, what was that experience like growing up?
It was good. I don't think any of us escaped school with no issues. I had, it's part of the course, isn't it? I I had a really good childhood. I think that you're kind of asking if I was bullied. I wasn't really bullied. I had a few big name call-ins. I'm gonna have to take my jumper off. I'm really hot, but you said
That's
this is me
fine.
in
Go for it.
film. It, I promise you, this is an actual top. It looks a little bit revealing.
No problem.
Uh, it was good. I mean, yeah, as I said, I had a few. I remember a couple of kids being quite rude about my face. As I say, I was quite like bolshy when I was younger, not horrendous, but I was just quite a little firecracker. And again, I had two older brothers and sisters, so it was like a fun, adventurous house. So I do remember. I probably shouldn't say this if there's kids listening. I'm not saying you should use violence ever. I just kicked them in the shin, like good, like the old-fashioned way, and
Yeah.
it kind of tied it all up. And then I remember a girl said something, and one of my friends punched her in the face. Like, it sounds so bad when I'm saying it now, but you asked, right? So I don't know how else to tell you other than the truth. And even the teachers, like they would say, right, Annie, we're going to have to pull you aside because it's not appropriate. We can't condone this. But they would bring me into the class and they would just say, like, we understand. Don't worry about it. So I kind of knew from a young age, like, anger and frustration, it's not ideal to do that, because they did talk to me about other ways I could express these emotions, but they sort of, at a base, it was understood that there's a right time to be angry and there's a wrong time to be angry, and it's very hard to find that, and quite often there's no excuse to hit people, but on occasion you're kind of okay. Again, I apologize, I feel like I'm gonna get shot for this, but and I don't regret any of that, so it is what it is. But as I say, going forward, I was in school, it was kind of okay. I had trouble when all my friends are getting jobs in shops, like 15 or 16, just like clothes shops, like warehouse, I don't know, whatever, like H&M, all these. And I wanted to earn money too, we all want a bit of independence at 16. And I couldn't get hired, like I would take my CV up there. If I emailed it in, I'd get a call back. If I walked in, it would be like, oh, really sorry, it's full. Now, I obviously knew that it wasn't, because my phone would be like, no, there's space, I come in. And yeah, I just did not get a job. And I just, arguably, looking back, honestly, I think, I could have really pushed my CV and maybe called attention to the problem. Like now I would approach it in a different way, but I was only 16, like 15, 16. I didn't know how to handle it or navigate it then. So I could have probably gone and said, look, I can do this, give me a trial, I could do a couple of weeks, and if you don't want me, I'll go. I could have done something like that, but I didn't know how to handle it then, and it just really upset me, because I thought, what, I can take the pain of not looking exactly perfect like other people, or I don't know, the difficulties that come up from being, I'm always going to be in and out of hospital, those kinds of things. But like, not being able to get a job, I thought, God, if I can't get a job, what am I going to be reliant on my parents my whole life? That's not okay. It's not as if I came from a hugely wealthy family where that was, really an option. And it just really upset me. And so that was probably another big time that I really remember feeling a bit low and being a bit upset.
Yeah.
And it kind of really made me question myself. And I don't mean to sound like positive Percy over here, but in the same token, it was good for me, because it made me go, right, I want to work for myself. I don't want to give other people the opportunity to say no, or have power over me and my ability to actually look after myself. So then after that, I was like, right, what can I do? And then that's when I did the personal training qualifications and all of that. And I found out pretty quickly, people might say no, but they're never going to say no to taking your cash. So as long as you're going to say, I'll rent this space, I'll pay you this, they're like, yeah, come on in. So it was just a really good position, really, looking back. I would never say this at the time. And it's even hard to say that to someone when they're going through it. But, having to sit there, wrestle with your self-doubt, deal with your own frustration, pick yourself up. You're paying for things that you can't buy, like they're the goodies. They're the bits that, people always say, well, how do you get other people to do it? And I have to say, like, it's experience. You have to put your head on the chopping board and go for it yourself, and realize it's all part of life. And if you can practice, and it takes time, because as I said, I was very quick to fight, quick to get angry about different things. It takes time to realize that these emotions aren't going to help. And so you're either going to keep butting your head against a brick wall, or you're going to have to calm down, sit tight, and think of a way around your issue. And that really is priceless, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you talked about, I guess, the positive side of social media. And I mean, I think Instagram is quite a nice in terms of platforms, I think Instagram tends to be a nicer one. But, you know, I guess you have like Twitter as well. It tends to be a bit more trolly, tends to be a bit more negative. We've had some people on, Becky Allington, and Ellie Simmons and people like that. They've talked about some of the negative, and the actors as well. They've talked about the negative side of Twitter and some of the comments they've had to deal with trolls. Have you ever had to deal with any of that, or are you quite good at avoiding that?
No, I'm lucky enough to be in that club. I get loads of it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, I get a lot of people being ratty. I don't know. I've had it my whole life anyway. This sounds like I'm doing the old violin, but like I have had it my whole life. So it, you know, I don't know. I'd get it anyway. You know, I think when people like in that level, they become famous. It's like, oh, the shame of being famous. But you know, lucky for me, whatever I'm gonna do, I'm probably gonna have that. So I just sort of take it as it is and just get better and better at dealing with it. I said it the other day because like I've been getting some corkers on Instagram lately. And I would never share the dodgy ones because I don't call attention to it because I don't like doing it. And some people can say some really horrendous, nasty things. And quite often it will create a whole stream within my comments because I'm not always, you know, super fast on the gram. And if someone starts it in the States, obviously I'll miss it through just being asleep. And then some people might stick up for me. And then I've got like this feed deep argument, you know, because normally I'll just delete a comment, but I find that people might be sticking up for me and having this row, and I don't want to delete the original comment because these people look crazy. So yeah, social media is quite amusing, but the best part of social media, do you know what I mean? I can just delete it. If people, you know, you can block people. Now you do know the same people, then Instagram for some reason still hasn't done it. If you block one person, you should be able to block them from all of their, like, whatever comes from that phone or whatever, because obviously they just keep coming back. But in all honesty, I just feel like it's just not something I can, like, this is as much I'm ever going to talk about it. I wouldn't say it to anyone else. I don't bring it up. I literally just, in my head, I've got like 10 units of energy a day. I'm going to focus it on this. If I give it to that, it's just going to, you know, take away from me and make me upset. Same as though in Tesco, if someone comes in and taps you on the shoulder and says, oh, why do you look like that? Were you born like that? Or, you know, and that like throws 1,000 rude questions at me. I would just try and bat it off as much as I can. I wouldn't bring it home and tell my husband unless for some reason it annoyed me. Oh, actually, a good point to say, because I was bringing it up the other day. You can jump in at any point. I feel like I'm just it's becoming a blog. I feel like I'm just doing a video log right now. You tell me to shut up, right? Is that the other day it did annoy me, and I sort of put a little thing out on my story saying, oh, these people are bugging me on the gram. And the reason why, I always know when I start to get annoyed with people staring at me or saying rude comments, it's because I've not been looking after myself, you know, like I'm overtired, I've been working a bit too much, or maybe I haven't been doing any kind of training. Like, I mean, I'm just talking a bit of fresh air, you know, like going for a walk or whatnot. So I feel like it always comes back to me. Like if I don't feel my best, and I don't mean like, you know, I'm, you know, Instagram perfect. I'm just talking about if I don't feel relatively good, that's when it's going to aggravate me. So guys, that's just a note. When you start getting more agitated in life, I always find checking in with myself is the way forward.
Yeah, I always thought Instagram was a bit nicer than. Do you have Twitter as well, or is it just Instagram?
Do you know what? I focus on just the gram and a little bit of Facebook aside. I can't do all of it. My attention is not. I'm not really a natural phone person, you know. As much as you'll see me like on the gram, I have to sort of push myself. I've been pushing myself to get into it more and more. I'm not like, my attention isn't there. I like people and human beings and things like that. So I'm not. But no, Twitter.
Twitter's the one it's not. It tends to be that's where you get most of the trouble. So when you said Instagram, I was surprised. I thought Instagram were probably maybe a bit better at, monitoring things.
It's good on Instagram for like a troll because they can just make up fake accounts.
Okay.
So that as long as someone's hit, that's like Twitter works really well for people because they can, you know, they're comfy just behind their keyboard and there's no face. So they're probably not going to get. There's no name, and they're probably not going to get a swipe in a supermarket. But it's the same as Instagram if they do it. But I tell you, the last couple of comments I've had have been open accounts with men, with families and kids and stuff. So I don't know if the world's changing or whatnot, but I don't know. Whatever.
I mean, I think the thing to remember is that you're never going to find someone that trolls someone. You're never going to find those people that are very happy, successful people. No one really successful. no one's really successful that's going to be like, yeah, I have all this money, have a nice car, and I have a great business. But you know what I really like doing? I like going on social media and
I know. Do you know what? I always think that, because a lot of the effort they put in, and I've even said a couple of times, like, Power, like the effort you're putting in, get a job and then take yourself to therapy or something. Like, this is a lot of time you're putting into this.
Yeah.
And I said to, because I get loads of people, oh, it's really bad, they're horrible, they're nasty. I'm like, do you know what? They're honestly not that nasty. They obviously feel really badly about themselves and they're having a real difficult time. You know what I mean? And when you're in a swimmingly good mood, as you said, you're not like, hey, it's 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Let me get on the gram and start.
Time to give Ali Price some shit on Instagram.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I suppose. I mean, what do you plan to do? I guess next. Are you doing more documentaries or anything like that upcoming? I know
I'd love to
in and out of hospital at the minute, but
yeah, I have been in and out of hospital. Yeah, but no, I'd love to do more documentaries. The last one we were speaking about is one around self-help, which I'm so passionately keen to do, because I just find the self-help industry fascinating in that I put my hand up to it. I'm all in. Absolutely love it. I love my self-help books. I love my James Clear. Like, I love all my little books and whatnot that I read. But at the same time, I find that I think where we've lost the church, now, sorry if everyone's still, I just mean that it's not a thing. It's not as everyone goes as much as before. We're kind of losing that connection, the community. And so people just need that, right? So they kind of latch on to these self-help gurus. And who are these gurus, And then I also find that people are kind of getting lost in the journey, and they never really arrive. And as I said before, people put these obstacles in their way to do anything. And it's like, well, I haven't found myself yet. I haven't gone through my trauma yet. I can't do this next stage. And I'm like, you're pausing your life. You know what I mean? I just think there's so many question marks. And then even the whole narrative of manifestation, what does that say for the people that have gone through a horrible journey? Does it mean they brought those horrible situations to them? Like, it's just so many big questions. I'm just like, I feel like we're at a tipping point now. It's starting to go into a realm that I'm not keen on. If you're picking up a book, reading it for a little bit of self-development, more power to you. That's brilliant. But I just think that, people are paying these people lots of money to do what I don't know. So I would love to look into that. I find that really interesting. But yeah, no, so that kind of got paused because of lockdown. As I say, I've been out of action anyway right now. And again, I'm launching Well Woman Club. I want to raise some money for Action for Children. So guys, if you're listening, follow me on the gram, please. And I want to do some good for Action for Children and the Katie Budd Foundation.
That's great, yeah. And so do you think doing more self-help stuff is something that you'd like to do?
What do you mean?
Like self-help, I guess, with people in there, like you were saying, with self-help coaches, like doing more of it, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can. I don't think I've got the. I don't know if I can put my hand up and say I'm worthy above anyone else to listen to. I don't know if I've got that, but I'm more than happy to always share the things that work for me and give advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know if.
I think it's good, like people that like yourself that can stay positive. I think a lot of people, from what people that speak to me as well, and I sort of try and refer them to people that I can recommend sometimes, is people really struggle with their past, aren't they? Or like, really, I think self-forgiveness in terms of what I was like, or whoever like so-and-so was like when they were 20 and they're now in their mid-30s, and then they're not able to kind of let that go, and they kind of feel like they beat themselves up about past mistakes happened 10 years ago. And it's just like, rather than focusing on who you were, people just kind of struggle to, focus that, you're not that person anymore and you're the person that's learned, rather than the person that is, so what, you were wild when you were in your 20s and things like that. And people really struggle, they think they have that reputation of perhaps being wild when they were in their 20s. Now they're growing up and mature, they think that they have to kind of beat themselves up about that. And yeah, that's really
I completely agree with everything you just said there. That's my biggest thing that I always sort of tell people. It's like they can't let go. And I understand. I'm not pointing the finger. I put my hand up to it. There's a short space where I couldn't let go. I thought I was kind of a terribly bad person because I love to party a little bit too much when I was younger. But let's face it, like a lot of it comes down to situational in that you're in that arena. And also in all honesty, it sounds, and I'm saying this purely to help other people, and I hope they think of it themselves in the same way. I now look back and kind of, especially now I've got my kids, and I say, you know what, Annie, you did what you needed to do to feel good at that time. That was the best you could do with that information. Like, I could have done a hell of a lot worse. Do you know what I mean? And it's one of those things that, like, you always think that you could look at it better or done something better, but that's what you're doing now. That's the only thing that you can do. And I just think that life's too short if you're going to waste it feeling badly of yourselves. That's more of a disservice than any of the crazy you did in your 20s. You know, like, you just got to say, okay, that's what got me through at that point. Because I had a difficult time for my 20s. That was hard, you know, back then. I had a lot of difficult times. So me drinking too much, or, you know, not being the kindest to some people on occasion, which we all done, that's part of it. And you just have to know that you're going to change your behavior going forward. But I think, holding on to that pain is a waste of life. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. I'm being just brutally honest. Like, if you can try and look at it in that way, it kind of helps you go, hey, actually, come on, I need to close a book. I need to close the book on this and move forward.
Absolutely. And I guess, like, you know, accepting that you screwed up isn't the same as having to feel guilty. There's like a difference between accepting, okay, you know what, I learned. Like, that's like an acceptance. Like, I'm trying to think of the word, but it's gone for me now. But that kind of, you know, acceptance that, okay, you know, sort of manning up to, okay, you know, that was then. But, you know, we're not our past, are we? We're not, you know, who we were 10 years ago. We sort of develop as we get older. And you know, I think people need to focus on they're the person that's learned rather than the person that, you know, was back then 10 years ago doing tequila every a few nights a week. But yeah, you know, I think people really struggle, you know, having that sort of drawing that line between acceptance and sort of, you know, and guilt, I think.
No, I completely agree. I completely agree with everything you just said.
Yeah. I suppose, I mean, what do you think, I guess you're sort of similar age to me. So, like, are you kind of happy that you grew up like I am, that without sort of the social media powers of Instagram and Twitter and Facebook? It all kind of happened in our 20s, I suppose, a sort of social media revolution. I am kind of happy that as a teenager I didn't have to kind of go through Instagram, because it's so prevalent in teenage life now, where everyone's just, all teenagers especially, it worries me, because always comparing each other to always comparing each other to themselves.
No, I'm very, very grateful for that. 100%. I think that it's quite difficult because obviously, even I would say I'm a relatively intelligent person, you know, like, I'm content in lots of ways, but even I'll compare myself on the gram and I'll get annoyed. You know, I'd be having a great day and I look at someone else, I'm like, oh man, I'm not doing enough, I'm not doing this, you know, like the normal things that we all think. And I think that's fine, in that our age group can kind of depersonalize it and say, okay, actually, this is just the gram. We're only seeing the shiny glam bits. In reality, this person still pees, poos, eats drinks, overdoes stuff, got shame, blah, 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 blah. We all know we're all in the same boat. However, our young counterparts, the rest of the world, I don't think they've got that yet, you know, because you're growing and you still genuinely believe that it is shiny, brand new, brightest green on the other side of the fence, you know, like, I don't think that at base they believe that it is even, you know. I do think they think, oh, I should be like that. And also I think because of the gram, it always shows you in that happy way. It doesn't show the boring parts of life, the mundane parts of life, the crap parts of life. You know, it doesn't connect all the dots. So it just always looks this bright or happy, or, which is great in lots of ways, the depressed end. So there's just no middle ground. It's either I'm smiling and everything's wonderful, or I'm not happy, I must be depressed. Now, I'm not saying that you're not depressed or you don't have these negative thoughts, but I would argue that everyone at some point will have depressive thoughts or sad thoughts. However, any sad thoughts shouldn't be pushed into that box, you know. So I think that, unfortunately, the representation of life isn't clear. And I do try my best to put my hand out there and say, like, do more things about makeup. And I'm, at the moment I'm posting a bit more about my hospital things, which before I used to get embarrassed about, because I felt like, for me it's normal, but if I do a hospital picture, everyone's like, oh, I hope you're okay, and I get loads of lovely messages, but then I feel embarrassed. I think people must be like, oh, here she comes, hospital kid again, give me some give me so I get a bit embarrassed, but for the sakes of transparency, I show all of my bits, because in reality that's the only thing I think we can all do. If we put ourselves forward and try and show as much as we can, if you're on Instagram, if not, obviously it doesn't matter, but then I think that's the best thing we can do. But I do struggle more for my kids. I think, God goodness, how's that going to be? Yeah, I do. And just little things, like they just got the different like, for instance, the other day it was really funny. I saw a meme about snow day.
Right.
Obviously for us it's like snow day, yeah, like it just means like get with your pals and just have a great day. But because of online work, it's like snow day, they just still have to work, but online. And then someone wrote, we got out at just the right time, ladies and gentlemen. I just thought that's hilarious, because it's true, like they miss all like the fun little bits, and also learning little things like I've got to be somewhere at 7:00. Even now I'm terrible at it. Even today's interview, like, oh, it's fine, I can just check in, I call someone, you know what I mean? Like before we'd have to meet someone at the lamppost at 7:00. You meet them or you don't go out. Do you know what I mean? Like it's these tiny little things that we don't think about, that it's just a whole new world for them.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Like even if you're like going to meet someone on a date or something and they're running late, it'd be like back in the day, you wouldn't be able to communicate with that person, would you? I meet you outside Smith's or Woolworths back in the day, I suppose it would have been. I meet you outside Woolworths at 3:00, and if you're running late, you'd either have to wait it out or just kind of go home because they hadn't shown up, because there was just no
way. Exactly. And that's another point, is the dating arena. Like I was chatting to one of my girlfriends and her kids. She said that like these are young kids, right? And they get inappropriate messages sent all the time, just because they can, because it's so, whereas before, like we used to have those really awkward conversations, to sort of interact with people and like grow relationships. And that's kind of missed, because they can just be like, date, meet me, kiss. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, I don't know, I just feel like some of the relationship parts is changing as well, but I don't know. I don't want to be too negative on it, because as I say, I think it is so wonderful in so many ways, genuinely. Like over lockdown, it was a savior to me, and I have really changed how I use it. As I say, I'm all in a bit more, and it's lovely, like the communities you can create. But yeah, for the kids, I don't know.
Yeah, it's always getting to the stage where you feel like they're gonna have to teach kids how to manage it in schools. Like someone's gonna have to. They are. It's gonna get to that stage, because it's causing so much mental health problems for teenagers, I think.
It is, for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing talking today. I think you should definitely do some of the self-help stuff, coaching. I can see you doing it. I think you'd be really good at it.
Oh, that's so nice.
No,
I appreciate that.
No, you should. You should look up my friend does it, Holly Matthews. She's very popular.
I'll look her up. Holly Matthews.
Holly Matthews, yeah.
Is it IE?
No, Holly with a Y, Matthews. She's been on the podcast before. But yeah, very inspirational story. She was on Waterloo Road like back in the day.
Waterloo Road.
Yeah, Waterloo Road, an actress. Yeah, and now she does self-help stuff. She's very good. She's a Geordie, so she's got a no bullshit kind of attitude as well.
I love it.
Yeah, she's great. But anyway, on the Shape Stories podcast, we always talk about stories that inspire us, whether it be a book when we were younger, whether it be someone's personal story that inspired us that we know, or a famous person, whoever. I mean, is there a story that you sort of hold close to you that's a very big part of your life?
Do you know what? There isn't really one story. I've always sort of grown up quite luckily with quite a lot of strong women around. And I used to read a lot as well. So I've read quite a lot of stories about different people. And for me, it's more about anything with the whole perseverance, which I know is, again, very cliche, but I just find that, on the broad sense in the media industry and everything, history is either written by the winners or the broken that are heavily looked after. And so actually those stories haven't tended to really help me that much. for instance, Arnold Schwarzenegger's story is what I used to love as a kid, which my mum used to find hilarious. That like this little burnt kid loved Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I just loved, you know, he changed his career lots. You know, he just really went for it, and he's not the obvious actor, let's face it. So I just find him really interesting. And as I say, growing up, my mum was always a bit of an influence for me. She worked for herself. That's partly why I worked for myself. So I knew it could be an option. And she looked after our 3 kids, our house. Yeah, I like it when people just are them, living themselves unapologetically and going for it. And I know that sounds, again, very, very cheesy, but it's just so nice to see, like, just people being happily in what they've got and who they are. And again, guys, anyone that's listening, I just want to say that you never know who you're mentoring. The people that have really, really genuinely helped me are people they would probably never know. So just, you know, whatever you're doing, like, do it with your chin high, because it does mean a lot to other people.
Amazing. I suppose Arnold Schwarzenegger's a bit like The Rock, isn't he? In terms of not the best actor in the world, but, you know.
No, I feel like Arnie went through a little bit more than The Rock. So we can, maybe you just call me up another time. We can sit and go through those 2 things. That was a bit of a sweeping statement you made there, pal. Call me up, we'll go through it. I'm joking.
Yeah, not even. Yeah, no. I think with The Rock's acting, it's more like he's been in lots of different films, but I can never tell you the name of a character that he plays in the film. He's just The Rock. Whatever film he's in, it's just like, what was his character's name? I have no idea. He's just The Rock in the film, isn't it? It's just like no one ever remembers like the name of his character.
No. It's like Rick Vale. I think when people are good enough, they're just, you know, and we underestimate how fun it is just to be fun. You know what I mean? Like the serious ones, they are great, but you're like, am I going to watch your movie twice? No, because I don't want to cry for 8 days. No. How many times have I watched Commando, for instance? Quite a few. Mm-hmm. I mean, the silly things are fun.
Yeah. Well, it's been amazing talking to you. And
you.
I look forward to following you more on social media and seeing your development.
Oh, thank you. And you. Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.